So we heard that at TEDx you like a good story. So we thought today we'll tell you two tales and one project. The first one starts in Dharavi, in Koliwada. Okay. And it's about a student from France who comes to study the very famous slums of Dharavi that he read about in articles. He saw documentaries. He's very excited. He's doing his thesis project on Dharavi. And so he comes to T-Junction in rickshaw, and he starts walking into the neighborhood. So he sees it's dense, he sees lots of houses, quite packed, meandering streets, and he lands up at this market, the fish market. So he goes to a lady who's selling fish, and he asks her, is this the slum of Dharavi? And she looks at him and she's like, no, this is not a slum. Here you're in Koliwada. This is a village. We've been here for 300 years. We've been here before the Portuguese came and called Mumbai, Bombay. This is not the slum of Dharavi. If you want to see the slum is outside. You go out. And he says, oh, okay, thank you, ma'am. By the way, may I take a picture? He says, no, you may not take a picture. You can buy fish if you want. Otherwise, please go on. So he says, okay. He keeps on walking. And he feels that, yes, indeed, it's quite packed, it's dense, but it does feel a bit like a village. Continues. He crosses Dharavi main road. He sees kids going to school. He sees people going to work, vegetable vendors, lots of small shops, bustling activity. And he finds something which looks a little bit more than like what he expected. So he looks around and he asks this lady, who seems to be cleaning something on the floor, he asks her, is this here? Is this the slum of Dharavi? And she looks at him and she says, yeah, chotpati nahi. This is not a slum. This is my house only. And this is a chol. It's a municipal chol. I pay rent to the government. And my parents lived here before me and my grandparents. And we've all paid rent. This is not a slum. The slum is outside. If you want to go to the slum, go further. So he continues. He walks down on the main road, and he sees activity, construction work. It's still not looking like what he thought it should look like. So he continues, and he looks a bit confused. And he sees two men come to him, and they ask him, are you looking for something? You look lost. And he says, yes, is this the slum of Dharavi? I'm looking for the slum. I'm doing a research. And they say, actually, this is not it. This is a neighborhood that our forefather built 6 generations ago. They came from Tamil Nadu, leather workers. They bought land. They built houses. They built mosques and schools. So if you want to see the slum, go outside. The slum is outside. So he continues, and then he sees something that really looks like it. So he's quite thrilled. And he crosses the bridge. And he gets to something which looks, it has all the elements of the slum. So it has lots of tin sheets, structures, lots of garbage piled everywhere. So he asks a young man working there, is this the slum of Dharavi? And he says, actually here you're in an industrial compound. This is 13 compound. We recycle the waste from all over Mumbai. Plastic comes to us, we clean it, and then we create new plastic with it. If you want to see the slum, you have to go further outside. So he goes further outside, and then now he's sure. It's like, okay, this must be it. He sees shacks built along a water pipe, and he sees a little girl coming to him. So he starts, she looks at him, and she's puzzled to see him over there. She starts talking to him, and they have a discussion, and she invites him to visit her home. He says, come, I'll show you my house. So he goes to her house, and it's very small, but he sees TV, there's a bed, her mother is there with little brother. She prepares some tea for him, and she has a nice packed kitchen. And she tells him that, see, when I come home from school, I close the door, and I leave the slum outside. And in many ways, the story that we want to tell you today is the story of how people in Dharavi and in so many other neighborhoods in Mumbai have kept the slum outside through their hard work.
And it is this elusive quality of Dharavi, the so-called slum, which became the starting point of our work 10 years ago. So you see over here, there's an office, the urbz office, not far from here, in fact, a few minutes walk, and it's right on Dharavi T junction. We were a team of an anthropologist, an urban designer, and an architect who co-founded urbz, and we felt that any urban practice needs to have all these different skills and many more. Our whole approach towards urban practice was shaped by learning from the environment. There is a very clear reason why we were here, because we felt that this neighborhood had lots to offer, lots to teach us. And that's the only reason why we set up our office over here. We began to engage with the environment, we began to know people, know communities, we made friends. We have one of our advisors is right here right now, Bhav Korode, who also spoke last year. And we began to understand the intricacies and nuances of the neighborhood and why it was important for us to keep denying this idea, just like everybody else, that a slum is elsewhere, this is not it. The reason being that a number of people, number of communities, number of families who moved to Dharavi many, many generations ago came to a place where there was almost zero infrastructure. There was nothing. They themselves came from extremely marginal backgrounds. They came from very poor families, extremely marginal communities. And with very little help, they began to slowly plug into the city. And over a few decades, created a neighborhood which we see around us today. One of the most important elements of this neighborhood, which a lot of people don't know, is that the communities began to invest hugely in education. It was the communities which began to pressurize the municipality to set up schools. Dharavi had schools run by municipalities in many different languages, Tamil, in Kannada, in Hindi, in Urdu, and Marathi. And you actually had, in many ways, the representation of what a very important political figure in Indian history, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, had always imagined for the most marginal communities in the country. That the communities themselves have to leave villages and come to the city. It is the city that they will transform, they'll get an opportunity to transform, to modernize, and an investment in education was very important. This is where our second story comes in. As you see in the picture, we have the image of Dharavi, and we have Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar and Mahatma Gandhi in a very unusual sort of context where they actually are having a conversation with each other. This is pure fiction. We know it would not have really happened because they represented very different ideologies. But for us, Dharavi is the place where the two streams of political visions come together. As we began to understand Dharavi, we saw that in many ways, many of the families and communities have never given up their relationship to the village. And in that sense, they remained a bit Gandhian. Because for Gandhi, the village remained the place where true India resides. It was also a fiction. It was his imagination which believed that, village India is really where the soul of India resides. But there was something to that as well. And you can see how in Dharavi, when migrant communities came from all over the country, they brought with them a bit of the village and they never gave up the connection to the village. We have second, third generation friends who live in Dharavi and who go back even now. Now for us, this symbolic combination of Ambedkar's vision and Gandhi's vision actually is represented in Dharavi. That is why we show them shaking hands over here. We feel that in many ways, this unusual political combination is something which we need to actually have transformation. And what is the other story behind, or what is the other sentiment behind Gandhi which we are very inspired by? And that is, he believed that the village is also a place of industry. His understanding of the village was a place of hard work, of productivity. And this is the other way in which we see the urban village in Mumbai representing a vision, a perspective of industriousness. This is what Dharavi is known for, high level of industriousness. And the core principle, what is the little motor which keeps this industriousness, this productivity much celebrated? You can see how now globally people talk about how productive Dharavi is. The essence of that is artisanal energy. the most important communities in Dharavi are artisanal communities. And because of various cultural factors, they also happen to be the most marginal. And it is this energy which in many ways brought a very, very strong artisanal quality and is responsible for the high level of productivity. And this is where, this is what became the starting point of our own engagement and practice.
There's one special brand of artisans in Dharavi that we've been very interested in, that we engaged with a lot. Those are the local builders, the artisans of construction, people who repair and build homes. Many of those local builders, they don't have any formal training, but they have an amazing knowledge that they acquired through practice. Some of those builders have built more homes than any architect will ever design. So they have a lot of knowledge about how the neighborhood works, what are the needs, what can be done. So we started working with people like Ajay, who's in the picture, and on construction sites. This is a picture of us in our office. And here you see again Baukorte, who spoke last year at TEDxDharavi, who's our mentor and a big inspiration for us. And Jay, who's a star architect in the office, together with Ajay, the contractor. And they're looking at his ideal house for Dharavi. So we're just sitting down, and we sat down with a few contractors. We asked them to please imagine what would be a perfect small house, 10 by 15 feet, for Dharavi, which could accommodate a family and some economic activity, because we know that this is a default typology in the neighborhood. So the contractors came up with some models. One of them you see here. So this is their design. It's not our design. It's completely based on their understanding of what is an optimal condition given the context in which they have to work. So high density and industriousness. We've asked also artisans in Dharavi to produce those models in different materials. So this is one in wood. We have also a model in glass, in clay, in recycled plastic waste, in steel. This is all made locally. And we exhibited those models and showed some features that we feel are very interesting. First of all, we portrayed the contractor as designer, the model maker, and we showed some features which we thought were very interesting. For example, this model has, here in this house, they created a system which connects the balcony and the staircase. So it's a bit as in a chole. It gives a very nice circulation. And the top floor has a mezzanine and optimizes also spaces. Each of the models had different aspects which we thought were very inspiring. We had the chance of, first of all, exhibit those models in our own office in Dharavi, where we have a small gallery. And by the way, we invite you to come and visit us at T Junction. It's an open space for people from the neighborhood and from outside to come and interact and to see the work we're doing. And we also exhibited it last year at the Baroda Jilad Museum in Mumbai, the City Museum of Mumbai. So this is a photo from this exhibition. It was very nice to see lots of people coming. The models also traveled to Rome, where they were exhibited at the Maxi Museum, and to Amsterdam. So for us, it's really about showcasing the knowledge. The fact that the knowledge is embedded in the neighborhood, for us, it's very important. And this is where we feel we should source the solutions and the next step for a neighborhood like Dharavi. With all these models, we created a little bit of a streetscape that we're going to show you now. It shows what would Dharavi look like if its potential was realized on the basis of existing local skills. So this is something which is not done by architects and designers. The only thing we've done is to put it into architectural design and into motion. what this represents for us is the idea of the slum outside. Is the fact that Dharavi is a homegrown neighborhood, has all the skills that it needs for its future within it, and that we don't need a master plan, we don't need to destroy it in order to allow it to become better. What we need is recognition for the forces at work in the neighborhood. We need respect for the people who work there, and of course, help from the municipality in order to provide what is not so difficult, not rocket science, water pipes for every house, sewage system. It's not so complicated. You don't need to destroy the neighborhood to allow it to become better. If this small incremental vision of improvement was fulfilled, nobody could dare calling Dharavi a slum anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.